everybody, and welcome to another painting video. This is the Gargantuan Tarrasque. This is actually bigger than I expected it to be. I had looked at pictures of it and went, yeah, that's going to be pretty big. But when it came in, it was in a box that was gargantuan, dare I say. And so, like, getting it out, like, it's not quite as big as the box made it seem, but it's pretty big. It's really big. And so what I'm going to be doing is finishing painting this. I'm also going to be doing some additions to the base. I don't have, oh no, I do have the base handy. The base is like a dinner plate. It is meant to attach to his feet, I think. Yep, and then there's a post that comes up and goes into the chest to provide additional support, because I guess he would be a little front heavy. But that part's going to come later. Right now, what I need to do is attach the tail before I can do anything else. This does appear to have, and I think a lot of these do, it has a primer coat on it. But I'm not going to let that stop me from doing my own primer coat. Because as many of you know who have watched my videos in the past, you know that I prefer to start with a black primer. Well, really, I guess it's just a black base coat, but it's a primer that I use to do that base coat. And let's see if we can get this on there. There we go. Where's my... Oh, I can't find my... Oh, there it is. Well, the fact that I can't figure out exactly where... Oh, there it is. Where I can't figure out where the connection point is pretty good. That means that that seam won't be bad at all. But anyway, with that done, I'm going to go through and see if I can find other points that might need a little filling before we start working with primer or paint or whatever at all. Just another thought on this, on the primer that's on here. If I remember right, they made a big deal about partnering with Vallejo and using Vallejo primer on their minis, which is fine. In general, I don't have a problem with that. But I have found when I've worked with this stuff that you can see it's, maybe you can't see, but I can see that it's a little bit shiny, just a touch. And it doesn't really take the paint as well as I might like. And it's another reason why I don't necessarily like to work with just this bare primer as is. Yeah, and as far as coloring goes, he's going to be, oh, look at that. It's like Tarrasqueception. It is like what I'm doing as far as paint goes is I'm probably going to be using going in the general direction of the current thinking of the coloration, but that is mostly browns and light tans, and I think I'm going to be moving more towards red for the browns, but there will be a lot of brown. Let's not let's not equivocate here. There will be brown, but instead of having brown be the overall major color, I think red will probably be that color. Not a bright red, a dark red, and we'll see where that goes. I don't have I have an idea. I have a piece of art that I'm going to use as a general guide when I'm trying to decide, okay, what direction should I go, and I don't know offhand. I will probably look at that art and then decide what to do. And overall, I'm not seeing much that's going to need cleanup. There is, let's see if we can flip this around. The tail itself has a little seam down here that's going to need to get filled. This shoulder connection point could probably use something. I'm guessing the other side. Oh no, the other side's fine. Weird. Even the legs seem fine. So overall, this is pretty good, and I don't see. What I was really concerned about was like parting lines. Somebody did a pretty reasonable job of cleaning this thing up and assembling it before putting it in the package. So that's nice. That's pretty cool. So yeah, not much work to do here. Not the kind of work I necessarily want to do on camera. I think for this seam, I might just drop some super glue in there real quick. Just to fill that up, hit it with some of the spray. Same thing over here. I think this is all going to go pretty easily, and then I'll come back and we'll get started on painting. So the filling process went really well. I did not find much else other than what I mentioned earlier to fill up, and I was able to do all of the seam filling with super glue, which was nice. While I was doing that, I decided not to prime in black. This is a big piece, and I was thinking that things might go a little faster if I primed in gray. This is Steinel Res Gray, and did some airbrushing of highlights and then do some washes and work it that way instead of my normal way of starting with black and then going lighter. And yeah, I think that's going to be the way to go, and my airbrush needs to be cleaned, like deep cleaned. So let me do that real quick, and then I'll get this started. Damn it! Okay, that was annoying. This is one of my issues with doing videos at all. You know, I'm not a professional at the whole video thing. I just set up a camera and shoot the things that I'm doing and talk about it while I'm doing it. That's it. So, you know, you get to see all of my mistakes and my problems with you know, preparing ahead or thinking, you know, that I should take care of things at the end of a session, or things that I've forgotten about the last time I painted. And in this case, it was my airbrush still had dried primer in it, which is the worst thing to clean out of it. But it wasn't too bad. I mean, I've been doing this long enough now and have done that exact thing enough times that you know, even a full clean out of my airbrush doesn't take all that long to do. So I'm already back up and going. Oh, you don't know how long that took, because for you it just happened and then it stopped. I think it took me about 10 minutes. It took me about 10 minutes to get that going. All right. I really should have one of my bigger airbrushes to do this, but I don't. So this will take a little while. But that's okay, because like I said, it has a primer coat, and so this is really like a second primer coat, and I don't need to be too fastidious about getting every nook and cranny, because the other primer will act as a backup. Yeah, so why don't I just go ahead and complete that little task, and then I'll be back. Okay, with that out of the way, I'm going to be doing the light color base coat for mostly the underbelly. Essentially, any of these fleshier parts, not the carapace, maybe the head. I'm not sure. I have to look at my reference real quick. I could probably get away with just doing it and worrying about it later. I'm going to be using Liquitex parchment, and is that a little light? I think it's a little light. All right, so we're going to add a little bit more of this. I'm going to darken that down with some Joe Sonia burnt umber. And it's just nice that I kind of buy some of these bulk paints, because one of the things I had forgotten about painting something this size, because it's been a while since I've painted something this size, is how much paint these things suck up. They suck up a lot of paint. So yeah, so I'm essentially just making a warm gray rather than the really light parchment. This is good. I was just sort of checking how different it is from the... Actually, this will be a good medium stage. Maybe I will lighten that up just a bit. So, so here's the plan. Just because I feel like I'm in my own head more than I'm talking to you. My plan is this first coat is going to be applied with a sponge. That's right, a sponge. And there's a reason for that. Well, there's a couple of reasons for that. The main reason is it'll provide a really nice texture to the color on the surface here. And then I might do that a couple of times. This color and then maybe a little lighter. We'll see where we are once we do this. And then I can go over that with the airbrush if I feel like the contrast is too much. And then that'll even it out a little bit. So, and this will end up working a little bit like a dry brush, because it's also going to leave the gray in the recesses. Hey, look at that. All right. And this is absolutely not going to be something you're going to see me do all of. I just want to give you a sense of the process here. So I want this texture. And so between that and the texture on the surface itself, it should really provide a kind of a nice realistic look to the color, instead of being, you know, an even tone all the way. I mean, that's of course the reason that you do things like washes and dry brushes and what have you, is that you want to get a variety to your tones to make them look more than just like a dead flat color. And this is just a little bit more extreme a way to do that, and a way to impart even more texture to the color. So I'm going to go do some more of this on my own, and then I'll be back and we can see where it is and where we're going. Okay, so that worked out well, but the gray showing through, I didn't realize how big a problem that was going to be. So I have whipped up a wash of that same Jo Sonja burnt umber, and I'm just going to apply it liberally to the places that I just sponged, and then we'll see where we are after that. We'll probably have to do another sponge coat, but I don't know. We'll see. I kind of am liking the look of this already. It may be an airbrush coat after this. I don't know. That's, you know what? It's one of the fun things about painting is that much of the time, at least for me, I kind of don't have a good idea of exactly what exactly is going to happen when I complete a step. You know, I was like, how's this going to look? I don't know. We'll see. And then you kind of just have to go from there and make course corrections and figure it out, and and figure stuff out, because maybe I don't want to curse on the video and have to worry about whether that's going to cause any problems. So yeah, let me continue with this, and then I'll be back. So that turned out much better than expected. This is, at the moment, darker than I want this color to be, or at least the way I wanted it to be, but maybe how I'm going to leave it, we'll see. There's still some areas here. I don't want to let these pool. This ended up being, instead of a wash, it was more like a heavy glaze, somewhere between a wash and a glaze anyway. And what I wasn't expecting was how well this brown interacted with the gray underneath. So, if you look, you can kind of see how it has, the wash has gotten rid of the spongy effect for the most part, and so what you're left with is something that looks more like more natural skin. So you can kind of almost see stuff going on underneath the surface. The paint glaze / wash did warm it up the way I was hoping. But the overall effect is so much better than I expected, which is very cool, very exciting. So because I like where this is and what the effect is, I don't know yet what my next step will be here. So I'm just going to let this continue to dry, and as I see dark spots, I'm blending them out with a brush. It's been a while since I've worked too much with the Jo Sonja paints, and I'd kind of forgotten how really nice and natural their colors are, and maybe that's part of why this ended up looking so good. But I'm going to depart from them for a moment, and I think I'm just going to block in the carapace and some of the other claws and horns and stuff. Maybe not these. I haven't decided. I really like how those look. So I'm going to block them in with Liquitex Burnt Umber. I think I'm going to do a little on the thin side. It's not going to be a wash, but I don't think I'm going to do a full strength coat. And then I am going to have to go in and do some red on the flesh bits. So the idea for the red, and if I can find the reference that I'm using, I'll show it to you. Upper parts of the fleshy bits, and especially where there's like these knobbly bits here, are going to have red. And then that's going to go to this tan as you get closer to the underside. So that'll be after the carapace. So let's get started. And you know what? I'm going to go ahead and continue using the big brush because this is a big surface to cover. And I'm just going to get this started on camera here and then finish it up off camera. I don't want it too wet because I don't want this color dripping onto the other color. Oh, this is so nice. I've really become a fan of Liquitex. But then that's mostly because I go through so much paint. This is one of those paints I can buy in larger bottles when I need to. Okay. All right, let me continue this off camera and I'll be back. Okay, this is day 2 of this project. I got all of the carapace and horns and stuff done before I wrapped up last night. And I'm just sort of sitting here and reevaluating where the paint is. And I gotta say, I'm still super, super happy with this flesh tone. And I'm equally, or nearly equally anyway, happy with the current state of the carapace and horns. So those coats turned out really well, and I think my next step here is I'm going to start adding red. And this is a little scary because, like I said, I really am happy where this flesh tone is. I could leave well enough alone, kind of, if I wanted to. The image that this is taken from, that this design is taken from, really just shows sort of a, you know, gray-brown setup. But I really want to add that red, so I'm going to add that red, or at least I'm going to start to. Part of me actually wants to work with the mouth first, because I'm going to want to do some red here, and I don't know which is going to be easier to do. Go into the mouth now and be concerned about overspray or what have you getting there, or the other way around, doing the red and then worrying about whatever I do in here getting out into, anyway. And I think, you know what, maybe I am going to do the mouth. And we are going to start with, this is Watercolors Flesh 4. And that is a good place to start for fleshy tongue and palate looks, but it's not going to be, this is really just a place to start I'm going to move in a more purple direction, which is really what I like to do with monsters whenever I do monster mouths. I usually like to do purples, but I also like to start with pinky flesh as my base. So that's what we're doing here. There it is. And oops. So this is going to do the inside of the mouth. This sort of webbing back here. And the tongue. Upper palate, lower palate, the whole kit and caboodle. So while I was waiting for the mouth color to dry, I jumped in with a little red in the airbrush. This is Watercolors Red 4, which is one of the darker reds, but it's still definitely red. And I figured I would start with this little kind of pebbly skin area here, and then maybe branch out from there and see how it goes. As I said, this is a little terrifying. I don't want to mess up what I've done already. And it can happen, but the thing is, like, I know how to get back to this point if I needed to. I can just do it all over again. And I can even do that in, like, if I got part of this arm done and said, no, I don't like that, I'm going to go back to it, I can just repaint this arm. That's not really a problem. So it's not too concerning, but you know, I just get nervous. I have never been overly confident of my own abilities. I do have a certain amount of confidence in my abilities these days that I, never had in the past, but that leftover feeling of anxiety that, maybe I'm doing the wrong thing, and maybe I shouldn't do this, and I'm going to mess it all up, and what am I going to do? Yeah, that's still there a little bit. Sort of, poking at my brain. Making me feel unsure about this. This is also a very thin coat. Probably twice the amount of thinner in this than I would normally use. So with the watercolors, my normal is like 5 drops of thinner to 3 drops of paint, and this is 10 drops of thinner. And one of the reasons for wanting to do this so thin is because I really want that that variation in tones that we already had there in the gray to show through, and that seems to be happening, which is great. It's making me feel so much better about this about this step. And so the idea is upper parts of the arms and legs, or all the legs, I guess. Depends on whether you want to call this an arm or not. And then essentially anything up close to the carapace, and then blend it out when it gets down, towards the belly. And the head, have not quite figured out if I'm doing the whole thing or just part of it. And I'm probably just going to figure that out as I'm painting. Well, I'm going to have to pick this thing up to get around to the other bits, so I'll be back. So I got the red. I actually had to go back and do some touch-up on the carapace, because as I was doing the red, I found some spots that didn't get hit with color, so it was just gray. And it happens. I even see some more that still need it, and that's fine. I mean, with something this big, it's likely to happen that, there's going to be something that you miss, because it's impossible to see the whole thing at once, and some areas you only see if you happen to flip it around in the right direction. So now, the mouth base coat is dry. And so my idea, I think, for the moment is I'm going to do a wash of dioxazine purple from Liquitex. I really wish you could get this size of Liquitex on a regular basis. This is their 3/4 ounce or 22 milliliter bottles. But these are only available as part of their kind of sample sets that you can get, which are really good if you have ever wanted to try Liquitex. The sample sets are a really good deal. Anyway, I'm going to wash in. I need a brush. Good brush. There you go. Need a big brush, not too big. So I'm just going to make a wash with some water. That's a little thick. That's a little better. Still not quite watery enough. That's good. I am planning on doing another coat after this. Maybe back with the original flesh color that I used there. I'll have to decide once it dries and, see what it looks like. See what direction I want to go. All right, I will be right back. So after very carefully lightening up all of the teeth, I looked at the mouth and thought, that could really use some more work. And what I'm going to do is try to clean up or reduce the contrast is really the best way to say what I want to do here. By going back with the original base color and lightening some highlight areas, getting rid of some of the kind of dirtiness. that the purple left. And just smooth everything out. Trying to let you see what I'm doing is a little challenging right now. Mostly concentrating on the tongue, but also I want to get these areas in here. And I'm trying very hard not to get any overspray onto the teeth, since I just spent a bunch of time making them more teeth-like. They're not done, but oh, this is definitely working out. This is what I'd hoped. All right, I need to get to the other side, and in general, make sure I've got what I want out of this coat. I might actually use this. He's got a lot of little damage spots on him, like there and there. It looks like he's been cut by stuff. He's even got a bite taken out of him somewhere, similar to this. And I wanted to lighten the edges of those areas. So I may, as long as I have this color out, I may do that. Anyway, and I'll be back. So that was successful. The tongue is much more cohesive now. I'm very, very happy with it. And now I'm going to try to just give a light wash of I think this is the Joe Sonia Raw Umber. I still have some sitting around here, so I couldn't remember right offhand. That I used on the body, and I don't want to do a lot here. I just want to give the teeth some age. There's a lot of texture in the teeth, so the wash does a really good job of sort of picking up and holding the wash and really bringing out that detail. Well, with the bottom teeth it's easy because I want them to be darker at the base. And the upper teeth, it becomes problematic because, of course, if I use too much of this, it collects at the tip. So I have to keep working it back up to the base again. I'll be back. So I'm on day 3 now, although again none of these days have been full days. I have another job that I do part-time when I'm not painting, so yeah. Anywho, yesterday what did I do yesterday? Oh yeah, so I did I did the airbrushing on the mouth. And this is going to get, at some point before I'm done, a light wash of probably a dark red, maybe, to finish tying all these colors together and making it look less airbrushy, because there's still a little bit of that airbrush haze that I don't feel is like really appropriate on this part of the model. I did some work with the scarring on the flesh to just sort of bring it out and make it look, you know, discolored like actual scars. And I did his eyes, which are really, really inset. And as I look at the eyes as I was painting them, like, how does this guy see anything aside from, you know, what's off to the side? Maybe that's why he's so pissed off, because he really just has no idea what's going on in front of him. Anyway, I am contemplating work on the base. Let's reposition here. All right, so the base. It's this big, clear dinner plate. And before I do anything else on it, I need to scuff it up, because we're not leaving it clear. I mean, you could. I think it would look acceptable with a clear base. I'm sort of personally... I kind of like the clear base look, but mostly for sci-fi stuff. Not that I do it much at all myself, but when I see them, I'm like, that looks kind of cool. I kind of like that. And maybe it's the, you know, the lazy guy in me that's like, oh man, that means I don't have to do a base. Could absolutely be that. That is certainly an element. But yeah, I don't really do it. I don't think... I know I have done it for others in the past, but I don't think I've done any of my own minis in that style. Anywho, I haven't actually decided what I'm going to do. Part of what I need to do now is put him on the base, get a look at it, and start thinking about what I want to do. There's got to be a certain level of destruction going on the base, and whether that just means, you know, churned up earth or something more, I haven't decided yet. But yeah, it's a big base, and his feet slot down. Oh, there's one, and there's the other. They slot down into there, hold them really nice. And then there is somewhere around here, there is a post that goes from the base to his chest to keep him from falling forward at some point. Although I feel like this arm does that job. But you know what? This is a heavy piece. If it got a little warm, I could totally see him, slowly sagging forward and making the claws deform and the legs get weird. So probably best to have that post. Anyway, I need to ponder a bit before I figure out what I'm doing here, and so I'll be back. Okay, here's my current thinking here. I found these old bits. I don't have a bits box. I have a bits drawer in my big toolbox, and these are bits from an old Games Workshop fantasy tower. They were like ruined pieces that you could use with it, and I've kept them all these years. I think I've had this since 2012, and there's a bunch. I have a bunch of these. And what I've been doing is cutting them apart to make them even more destroyed, and then cutting the edges so that I can, so they can look even more distressed. And then I'm going to figure out, you know, what's the right look for these. I also want to cut them into smaller bits so that I can have debris sitting off from, you know, where he's just walked through this thing. Then I'm going to have to do some sort of ground cover, and it's going to be dependent on what I have. You know, like, what kind of stuff do I have right now to do ground cover with? I have some, I've got some epoxy putty that I don't love, that, you know, maybe this would be a good way to use it up, is to to cover this base with it. And then it gives me an excuse to buy something I do enjoy more. So yeah, that's what I'm doing right now, and I'm going to do some more of that, and then I'll be back to show you my progress. Okay, so I have the basic setup going here. The tower, the debris. I carved in some stone floor using this putty that I don't like. Just so you know, this is a putty that I bought from China. And what I don't like about it is that it's a little stiff. It makes it difficult to work with without first, like, throwing it in the microwave and heating it up. And even then, it's a little stiff. It's functional. It does the job. But if I go through it, I will replace it with something else. Anyway, I feel like I had an adequate amount of debris to make this look reasonably cool. I'm probably going to add a little bit of foliage once this is all painted. And I can't really start painting until this cures out a little bit more. It hasn't been that long. That is one of the good things about this stuff, is this, unlike other epoxy putties I've worked with, this one cures out like within a couple of hours as opposed to taking all day. So I'll be able to get some work done on this today, which will be nice, but just not right now. So I'm going to go maybe watch a movie or something, or work on my droid. Oh yeah, I have a droid. I don't know. It's something I've been doing in the background. This is a foot of a pit droid minus its toes. Its little toesies go in there. Anyway, yeah, I have to let this cure out. So I'm gonna go do that, and I'll be back. Okay, we're back with the base, which has been primed gray. It has been washed burnt umber all over it, to get started on just the texture of everything. And I'm going to go over it with some Liquitex parchment with the airbrush, not too heavily. This is, again, just to add, well, it's two things. This is kind of a base for everything that we're going to do after. It's going to add some contrast to the texture. I'm going a little heavy there. And the lighter color is better, especially for this stone, for doing some variability on the color of the stone. But it's also going to, you know, wash away some of the kind of tide lines left over from this kind of generic wash that I did. But yeah, it's doing a lot of different tasks here. at the last minute yesterday, I realized that the floor hadn't been given any extra treatment, so it looked like dirt inside and outside of the tower. So I had to quickly sculpt in some flagstones, and we'll just make them look broken and dirty with the paint. But in sort of coming up with like a story for what's going on here, this would have been a ruined tower, not like a completed tower necessarily, like a new in-use tower. If I wanted it to look like something big and not ruined, I would have needed a lot more rubble, I think. So if I think of this as a ruined tower that's been destroyed completely, or maybe just more ruined, I don't know, it depends on how you want to look at it, then it makes more sense to me, and I can just continue on and not worry that that it doesn't look right. So now I've mixed up a variety of grays on my palette, and this is going to be for the stones here. I want to have well, a variety of grays. I want to have a lot of different differentiation to the stonework, and this isn't the final treatment. These are going to get another wash, but I need to break up the color first so that it doesn't just look like, you know, big slabs of concrete. That these were made up with different types of stone. Oh, I got my hand right in the way so you can't see anything. That's great. So this will take a few passes to make sure that I have made this suitably random. Yeah, I'm liking where this is going. For stonework, I like to use raw umber and burnt umber, black and white, and then I've got my parchment again. And that gives you a lot of natural tones to work with. And then, you know, you can add in other stuff, greens or blues or, you know, whatever direction you want to go in. All right, so I've mixed up a wash. It's a little bit thick right now. A warm gray wash. I've got a mix of raw umber and black and white to lighten it up. It's a real nice dirty color, like literally dirt. And I'm brushing it in and then dabbing it off. So it'll wash into the recesses, but it's not going to cover too much, and the remaining effect should look pretty natural. And give a nice variation to the stone colors underneath. And then, of course, like I said, it's going to tie it all together. You know, like a good rug ties the room together. Okay, I may have jumped ahead a little bit. There really wasn't that much work left to do. I washed the ground cover with, what did I use? Oh, right, it's right here. This is Burnt Sienna Umber from Scale Color Artist. It's a very reddish brown. And then I mixed up a highlight color to dry brush over that and make the ground look a little drier. I mixed up this turf, which, you know, is like standard sponge turf, but the super loose kind. No, stuff that looks like that. It's like sandy. I like to mix it with PVA glue and apply it that way, and then, you know, it never comes off. It's, you know, it's a permanent addition. The green color really kind of breaks up all the grays and browns really nicely. And I did some dry brushing of gray over all of the stonework, again to well, in this case, to do a little edge highlighting, bring out the details, make it a little dustier. And that's kind of it, I think. That's kind of it, yeah. And so now I'm just kind of waiting for everything to set, and I'm going to put the Tarrasque on, and then I'm going to do final touch-up. And so what you're going to see next is you'll see final photos of the model. So, hey, thanks for sticking in there if you've made it all the way to the end here. And I hope to have another video in the near future. But stick around, wait for the final pictures, and you'll get to see what this giant monster looks like.